And thanks to the fine folks at the Foundation for Economic Education, FEE, for all that they do to help educate, inform, and enlighten the people in regards to a multitude of social and economic issues. I, for one, am grateful for all that you folks do and wish you nothing but the best of success going forward. Headline out of Foundation for Economic Education: 3 studies that show lockdowns are ineffective at slowing COVID-19. The collateral damage of lockdowns is well documented. Their benefits, however, remain murky. This report, December 9th, 2020, by John Miltimore. Across America and Europe, many government officials are resuming lockdowns and tightening restrictions in the face of rising COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. Now, I will just point out first and foremost that if you look at that there's an actual link for the rising COVID-19 cases that you can reference, but nothing for the hospitalizations or deaths. So I think what this is basically referencing, or at least what I would suggest it may be, and you can verify the validity of my claim by clicking on this link, is that yes, there's an increase in cases, but is there a correlation or a corresponding rise in deaths or hospitalizations as well? Not necessarily. Or it depends. It's not a black and white answer. The collateral damage of lockdowns, which has been well documented, includes widespread poverty, depression, bankruptcy, and unemployment. Meanwhile, the benefits of lockdown remain murky. And as you can see, there's studies here and obviously information contained within all of these portions of the sentence that are highlighted in red. And I always recommend to you folks, definitely click on them just in case you're questioning the validity of anything that's pertained or claimed in this article. Because one thing I understand about, in particular, libertarian-oriented sources for news or information is they're very meticulous in making sure that they have evidence to back up any claim. Well, I know this because I do the same. Several studies show there is little correlation between government restrictions and lower COVID-19 mortality rates. Here are 3 of them. So the first one is the Lancet from July. A study published, and you see study, that red highlighted word, once again, that's the study. So just click on that if you want to learn about the study or share the information contained within it. A study published on July 21st in The Lancet, a weekly peer-reviewed general medical journal founded in 1823, indicated that government lockdowns were ineffective. Researchers collected data from the 50 countries with the most cases and found lockdowns were not associated with mortality reductions in critical COVID-19 cases, although factors such as obesity, smoking, and life expectancy were, which of course makes complete sense, right? Government actions such as border closures, full lockdowns, and a high rate of COVID-19 testing were not associated with statistically significant reductions in the number of critical cases or overall mortality, the study concluded. And from what I understand and from what I hear is the Lancet is not just some fringe organization, right? These are, once again, so-called experts, folks. So once again, that's the thing. When they're trying to use some experts to lay political cover for imposing mandates, lockdowns, or restrictions on your liberties, well, once again, just use sources such as this to push back against them, referencing experts of your own, or experts that even some of these people may refer to from time to time. That's the thing, folks. The term experts, yeah, there's a little bit more to it than just saying, hey, here's my expert, and just believe everything they say, right? You kind of got to think a little bit more critically about things rather than just using a one-word term to say that just forget about thinking about anything. It's just listen to what they say and don't question them, right? Number 2, Frontiers in Public Health, November. Similarly, a study, and once again, that word study, there's your study, right? Published by Frontiers in Public Health several months after the Lancet paper found neither lockdowns nor lockdown stringency were correlated with lower death rates. Researchers crunched data from 160 countries over the first 8 months of the pandemic, testing numerous factors such as public health, demographics, government policy, economy, and environment to determine how each correlated with COVID-19 mortality. Stringency of the measures settled to fight pandemia, including lockdown, did not appear to be linked with death rate, the researchers concluded. Number 3, Tel Aviv University study, October. Research from Tel Aviv University published in October on the website MedRxiv said that strict lockdowns may not save lives. Researchers analyzed mobility data collected from iPhones and found no statistical association between lockdown severity and the number of COVID-19 fatalities. We would have expected to see fewer COVID-19 fatalities in countries with a tighter lockdown, but the data reveals that this is not the case, the researchers explained. And as a bonus, Bloomberg analysis of Oxford University stringency data May. In a May Bloomberg article titled "The Result of Europe's Lockdown Experiments Are In," data journalist Elaine He shared several visuals based on work done by the University of Oxford's Blavatnik School of Government, which tracked a range of government stringency measures across Europe. COVID mortality, he said, did not appear to be associated with lockdown stringency. While not a gauge of whether the decisions taken were the right ones, nor of how strictly they were followed, the analysis gives a clear sense of each government's strategy for containing the virus, he writes. Some, above all, Italy and Spain, enforced prolonged and strict lockdowns after infections took off. He continues, others, especially Sweden, preferred a much more relaxed approach. Portugal and Greece chose to close down while cases were relatively low. France and the UK took longer before deciding to impose the most restrictive measures. But as our next chart shows, there's little correlation between the severity of a nation's restrictions and whether it managed to curb excess fatalities. A measure that looks at the overall number of deaths compared with normal trends, the report concludes. Emphasis, mine. Public health officials believe they can manage a virus through effective central planning, but this is folly and hubris. Human behavior and action are incredibly complex, far too complex for bureaucrats and political officials to control through policy directives, many of which are prima facie senseless. So anyways, folks, I'll place a link to this article in the description of the video below. And once again, the reason why I continue to do videos such as this and why I'm going to continue to do them going forward is to give you, the viewer and the consumer of this content, the tools and the ability to push back against some of the big government propaganda or rhetoric that's being espoused by those who seek more control or authoritarian measures to impose on the people. Knowledge is vitally important, especially in this information age, and in particular when it comes to defending what it is to be a free human being in this modern world. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.